Uh-oh. Okay, we'll start with this. It was announced earlier today that the two world champions, Sarah Bailey and Evelyn Bermudez, in the light flyweight division will be facing each other late next month in September on the 20th, headlining a United Boxing Promotions show that is the promotional outfit that promotes young Sarah Bailey, who's moving fast to be facing somebody as experienced as Evelyn in what will be only her 7th professional fight.
Wow.
I suppose that having debuted as a professional boxer at age 28, very late in life, Sarah Bailey feels a need to move quickly, as she doesn't have as much time to give to the sport as some other fighters. What makes up for it is her decorated amateur background. Though will it be enough for the professional experience of young Evelyn Bermudez, who sports a professional record of 21 wins with 1 loss, 1 draw, 7 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 23 professional bouts? She comes from a fighting family. Her older sister, Daniela Bermudez, very accomplished.
Her other sister, Roxana, she's a boxer too.
What makes up the fighting Bermudez sisters, Evelyn Bermudez, was last in action earlier this year in March when she took on former champion Tenkai Tsunami and decisioned her over 10 rounds.
Now she's fighting Sarah Bailey. Another trip to Canada.
She's been there before. She was there in October of 2023 when she took on former champion Kim Clavel and won a split decision. I remember protests after the fight that Kim should have got the nod. Kim did enough and she should have got the decision. For whatever reason, the judges gave it to Evelyn instead. So now she's going back there for Sarah Bailey, who is even less experienced as a professional now than Kim Clavel was. When Kim fought Evelyn, she had at least 18 professional bouts, whereas Sarah only has 6.
She may not be ready for this.
Now, one of the things that a fighter picks up over time, fight by fight, is poise, is calm during the storm. But only 6 or 7 fights into her pro career, will Sarah have that poise, have that calm?
Evelyn is a pressure fighter. There's not a lot of subtleties to her game. She's gonna come barreling forward, throwing punches and bunches, crashing the pocket, and crowding Sarah.
You have to wonder if after only 6 professional fights, Sarah will be able to handle the pressure. There are some great amateurs out there, skilled boxers, that unraveled under pressure in many instances because they were not experienced enough. I saw that happen to Bree Howling on an MVP show when she fought Naomi Cardenas. And we also it happened to Sky Nicholson when she fought Tiara Brown. Pressure busts pipes.
Relentless pressure has a way of rendering skillful and cerebral fighters tentative and hesitant, afraid to let their hands go because they're constantly under attack.
And a lot of the time, it's because those otherwise skillful boxers have not yet learned how to stay calm under pressure. They have not yet developed poise over time. Poise in the eye of the storm. And at only 6-0, it's questionable whether or not Sarah will exhibit any poise once the opening bell sounds and she is so confronted with a very aggressive and very prolific Evelyn Bermudez.
I've seen Sarah, and she's good. She's got a little bit of everything. She's athletic, she can move, change levels, counterpunch.
At least with the caliber of opponents that she has faced so far. No telling if she'll be able to stay in character with Evelyn.
But if this girl is as inexperienced as you say, how'd she get an alphabet title? How is she a world champion?
I believe it has something to do with Jessica Niri Plata's absence from the sport. She was the unified champion at the time. I believe that she was with child and took a hiatus, at which point the title went to Sarah.
The other one went to Lourdes Suarez.
But there you have it. Sarah didn't actually beat a champion in order to be a champion. She's merely the beneficiary of the politics of boxing. And so there's nothing on paper to suggest that Sarah Bailey has had adequate preparation for a fight like this with a fighter like this who may seem simple outwardly to the spectator, but on the other side of those ropes, in the ring, it's not so simple to deal with someone who is relentless, someone who's going to bear down on you.
And you know, Evelyn's got a chin. She's fought much bigger punchers than Sarah Bailey, who doesn't even have any recorded knockouts.
There's not much chance that Sarah stops Evelyn. She's going to have to go the distance and manage.
Talk more about the fight as the fight date approaches.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, tomorrow night, Oscar Duarte says, "I am the new face of boxing, and I'll prove it this weekend."
Duarte.
It can never be said that Oscar Duarte lacks confidence. The hard-hitting junior welterweight contender already proved his willingness to take on all comers by keeping a fight with Kenny Sims Jr. on the books. They were due to meet on a Golden Boy Promotions Latino night show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, last November, only for a knee injury to force Sims out. Duarte, 29-2 with 1 draw and 23 knockouts, remained on the card, winning that evening and then again in February. He could have easily moved on with his career, but he made it a point to not only revisit a fight with Kenny Sims, but agree to travel to his opponent's hometown of Chicago for the occasion.
Chicago? That place is a shithole. You couldn't pay me to visit Chicago.
So that would make this a homecoming fight for Kenny Sims. And you know what I always say about homecoming fights? There is the homecoming curse. There's something about a fighter fighting in his own neck of the woods that seems to distract them. And for context, we're not talking about fighters that regularly fight at home. We're talking about fighters that are regularly on the road and then fight at home. It seems to sort of throw them off.
Seen a lot of homecoming fights go sideways.
I am the new face of boxing, and I will prove it this Saturday night inside the ring, Duarte vowed during Thursday's final press conference. I knew we were going to have a fight before this. Now, we actually have it. Duarte versus Sims headlines a DAZN show this Saturday from Credit Union 1 Arena on the campus of University of Illinois, Chicago. Sims, 22-2 with 1 draw and 8 knockouts, will fight in his childhood hometown for the first time in his 11-year pro career. The 31-year-old contender, who trains in Vegas, comes armed with a 9-fight winning streak and is at the doorstep of an overdue title shot. Yet it's Duarte who is backed by the odds makers.
Yeah, I'm backing him too.
Oh, you are? You've got Oscar winning a fight? Why?
Because I think Oscar's on peds.
Bet365 Sportsbook has Duarte, a 29-year-old knockout artist from Mexico, as the favorite to prevail this weekend. He enters the fight having won 13 of his last 14 starts, including 3 straight following a December 23 knockout loss to Ryan Garcia in Houston. Duarte's current run includes stoppage wins over IBF 130-pound champion Jojo Diaz and Miguel Medueno. Neither of the two had previously been stopped before until they met the heavy-handed Duarte. Wedged in between was a competitive but clear points win for Duarte over Batir Akhmedov, who replaced an injured Sims on the November 16th Latino night card in Riyadh. Oscar Duarte is another one who can show what awaits you when you're willing to take risks and face anyone, De La Hoya told Boxing Scene. He moved up in weight, fought Ryan, and did extremely well in that fight until Ryan caught him. Ryan even said that was one of the hardest punchers he ever faced. You know what else Ryan said?
What?
Ryan said he thinks Oscar's on peds.
Oh, well, he would know. He's on him himself.
Now Duarte is back in another great outing and has a title fight within reach. If he wins, he's going on to face one of the champions. It's the sight of that very path that prompted Duarte to take on such a risk this weekend. This is going to be a good fight, insisted Duarte. It's a good challenge. I want to be a champion. Whoever's in front of me, I'm going to take him out.
The name of Oscar Duarte does not appear in either the IBF's rank standings or the WBO's, but he does appear at number 17 via the WBC.
And number 5, via the WBA, ranked ahead of Oscar, is Kenny Sims at number 4, who he's going to be boxing this weekend. So when Oscar talks about a world title shot, he must be talking about the WBA title. And who's the WBA champion?
Gary Antoine Russell.
But I figure that the winner of the main event may go on to face the winner of the co-main event. I don't think Regis Prograis landed on this card by accident. He's going to be facing Jojo Diaz in a fight that I expect him to win.
I expect him to knock out Jojo Diaz, who has a penchant for standing in front of guys and letting the fists fly. Against a heavy-handed counterpuncher like Regis, you don't want to do that.
We've been all through it. How maybe Regis looked bad, looked shot in his last 3 fights with Danielito Zorrilla and Devin Haney. More recently, Jack Catterall. But those are all boxers. Those are all movers. Guys who move away from the pocket, whereas Jojo steps into it.
It's a bad idea against Regis.
Jojo wasn't big on power at 130 or 135. He's not big on power at 140. So the more he opens up, the more openings he gives Regis Prograis. I have Regis winning the fight.
And Duarte versus Sims?
I've got Oscar Duarte for the aforementioned reason, because I think Oscar is on the juice. When you look at the size of Oscar and you look at the work rate of Oscar, this guy's a handful.
Oscar's a pressure guy.
Now, Ryan Garcia may have knocked him out when they fought, but up until that knockout, Ryan was in a world of trouble.
Yeah.
Oscar Duarte was laying it on thick. And Kenny Sims doesn't have the height, the length, or the punching power, the speed of a Ryan Garcia. I don't think he stops Oscar Duarte.
And if you can't stop Oscar, or can't get his respect, can't keep him out of the pocket, he's going to do what pressure fighters do. He's going to wear you down and wear you out.
They said that in November of last year, Kenny Sims pulled out of the Duarte fight with a knee injury. So now you have to trust that Kenny Sims on that same knee can shake and bake Oscar Duarte and go the distance. I don't.
Not on that bad knee.
If you stand in one spot with this Oscar Duarte guy, he's going to be all over you like a cheap suit. And the way I see it, it's either Oscar Duarte keeps Kenny on his bike and outworks him to win a points decision, or he actually gets to him and he stops him. But either way, I've got Oscar winning this weekend. To then perhaps move on and face the winner of Prograis versus Diaz that I anticipate is going to be Regis Prograis.
So we'll see what happens.
Getting him run over like a train by Virgil Ortiz. Is that really entertaining to anybody? I don't know. I personally not interested in the fight at all. I don't think it does anything for anybody, except maybe for Virgil. It elevates him with another big win. I think it would be an easy fight for Virgil at this point. I'd like to see Spence against top 15 guy just to see where he's at personally, so I could personally gauge and make up my mind as to whether I want to see the Virgil Ortiz fight. And I think that's the way you used to make these kind of fights first. Now they just kind of skip over it and go right to it. I don't know. At this point, when you're in a situation like that, I don't know where Spence's mind is at, but it doesn't matter if you've been a world champion. It doesn't matter if you got your ass whooped like that. You probably go in against a top 15 guy. You don't go in a main event. You don't do it on pay-per-view. Maybe you do it on a pay-per-view undercard. Maybe you go in a co-main event against underneath a championship all fight. You got to eat humble pie. You got your ass whipped all over the place, so you should eat humble pie. But you're just one fight away from being back in the circle, back in the mix, in a huge stadium fight against Virgil Ortiz. So go and do it. This is the way it's supposed to be done. There's a proper process to doing these things. I'm not totally against it if it's done right. But if it's done like this, the fight, there's no interest for me in that fight.
So I happen to agree with Paulie Malignaggi. I've no interest in seeing Errol go on a suicide mission 2 years out from his last fight against Virgil Ortiz, because that's what that would be. If he took a fight like that on, with no tune-up in between, he must be courting disaster. He must have a death wish.
Along with the rumors of Errol Spence Jr.'s imminent return, this rumor surfaces along with it, that it might be for a Virgil Ortiz fight. This is an idea that they've bounced around for, I'd say, at least 3 years now, because they're both from Texas. Errol's from DeSoto, and Virgil is from Grand Prairie.
Yeah, you could do it at Jerry's house. You have all the ingredients for a big-time fight. 2 separate demographics, the black boxing fans and the Mexican boxing fans, which under many circumstances has proven to be a winning formula. So you can see why that idea was bounced around for so long.
But right now, it's cold product. Errol Spence Jr.'s stock is in the crapper. He hasn't fought in 2 years, and the last time people saw him, he got beaten half to death. To where if you jump right into a Virgil Ortiz fight, what people are gonna think is you're cashing out. You must have ran out of money, and you
ain't got no choice anymore. You have to come back, you have to fight, and it has to be a big-time fight. You know, what Paulie Malignaggi said is 100% true about how these guys don't build these fights up properly. So we just saw Manny Pacquiao and a 3-year hiatus going straight in there with Mario Barrios, but our last memory of Manny Pacquiao was him losing and looking his age with Yordenis Ugas. Now we're about 2 to 3 weeks out from the Barrios fight, and we haven't gotten any numbers.
Why?
Because the pay-per-view didn't do any numbers. The old saying goes, if they had something to brag about, they'd be bragging. The reason they're not.
It's nothing to brag about.
Pretty sure the numbers for that fight fell somewhere in between 150 to 200,000 at best.
What does this have to do with Errol?
Errol is said to be mounting a comeback like Manny Pacquiao just mounted a comeback, except he didn't get all that warm of a reception. So if Errol does it the way that Manny did it, it'll be the same thing. People don't have faith in Errol anymore. He has to win their trust back. And to do that, he might need 1 or 2 tune-up fights to show people that he's still got it.
So why doesn't he?
Because he don't got it. If he wasn't already a shot fighter going into the Terrence Crawford fight, he's a shot fighter now. If he wasn't damaged goods already, he's damaged goods now. So that if you jump right in to a Virgil Ortiz fight, it's because you can't risk fighting someone else.
You might lose.
That, and he doesn't want to go backwards on the money. Yet another prevalent problem in the American boxing space is these guys don't ever want to take a haircut on the money, but every fight can't be a big fight. Sometimes you gotta take a little tune-up, and sometimes you gotta take a haircut on the money.
Nobody wants to do that, so you see guys going on these suicide missions.
I think that rumors of Errol Spence Jr.'s return are greatly exaggerated, but at the same time, the American boxing space offers so little to talk about these days. All they can do is mull over the same subjects about the same fighters. Errol Spence Jr., who literally hasn't fought in 2 years and still hasn't hired a new trainer.
He's gonna come back. He's gonna fight Virgil.
The way I see it, Errol Spence Jr. needs at least 2 tune-up fights, and I'm not sure that the PBC can afford to get him those 2 tune-up fights. I would say Turki Al Sheikh might do it, but Turkey's not in the business of paying for tune-up fights. If he pays for a fight, it's because he wants to see somebody get hurt.
So then what should Errol do? If Errol is really thinking about coming back, where should he go?
Matchroom. He should leave the PBC and go to Matchroom, who can get him 2 tune-up fights for good money so he can rebuild. If he's serious, he could really shake things up and surprise people by going to Matchroom.
Just an idea. Putting it out there.